All right, hey, what's up, guys? So in this video, I'm going to show you how to tailor your sales pitch to different personality types. You can stop leaving money on the table and then close more deals easier and faster than you otherwise normally would, right? So if you're struggling to close different personality types, sometimes some people seem very easy, but then sometimes you get that analytical guy who wants to go really deep in the numbers, and maybe that's a little bit challenging for you to either produce those numbers or build that rapport, etc. Again, in this video, I'm going to show you how to tailor your message, tailor your rapport, tailor your closing to every single possible personality type and avatar that we see within solar, right? So even myself, I remember in the beginning when I first started getting in solar, although I had a high closing ratio, I found myself struggling with certain personality types, right? Struggling to get the walls down, to be able to build rapport with certain people and so on and so forth. So with all of my experience of over a decade in sales, I'm going to show you guys how to classify each person that you'll see so that you can put them in the appropriate bucket mentally and then know exactly what to say to that person to be able to build that rapport, put an offer and messaging and pricing, et cetera, in front of them that really makes them excited, that really gets their attention, and then ultimately moves them across the finish line on that call or in that home that same day to earn the business. Okay. So let's dive right into it. So right off the bat, guys, we're going to talk about understanding customer avatars within solar sales, right? It's my belief that there's only 3 customers that we'll ever see in solar, right? And I'll break down exactly what that means. Then most of you, if you've been in sales for some time, you'll understand the 4 personality types of every buyer, which should be common knowledge to sales professionals. But more importantly, I'm going to show you how to implement, right? So how to tailor your pitch to each avatar and personality type. Now, why is this important? So most sales reps use the same pitch for every customer, right? Assuming that what works for one customer is going to work for another customer. Over time, you see that that's just not the case. People have different wants, they have different needs, they have different communication styles, they have different ways that they perceive value, that they take in value. They have different hot buttons and different triggers, right? So we're going to talk about how do you identify these hot buttons, these triggers based on the people and their communication styles and so on and so forth. So one of the things I said earlier was that there's only 3 customers behind every door or behind every call in solar. And we're going to talk about what those customers are. Right off the bat, we have the first one, which is millennials, right? Which is the newer homeowners. So for this, I don't want you to get too much hung up on the ages that I put for the avatars or the demographics. But this is not something that I pulled from Google. This is something that I've used in my brain and the things that I've taught all of my reps within Revis and all of my sales coaching students on how to classify people the second that they answer that door or get on that call, and we start to kind of build rapport so that we can classify them and then tailor our approach to them. Okay, so customer avatar number 1 is millennial homeowners. Just think of them as the newer homeowners in the game of homeownership, right? So they are younger, right? 28 to 35. Their values, they value eco-friendliness as well as status and financial savings. Their lifestyle, right? They're a little bit more tech savvy. They are interested in smart home technology. They probably have an Amazon Alexa, Apple HomePod, things of that nature. They value sustainability as well as trendy products. Attitude, they're open to technology and environmental consciousness and likes to show off smart investments. Emotional triggers for them. Let me zoom in on this a little bit so that we can see a little bit more. It's so far out. Emotional triggers for them is they get excited about new tech. They have pride in making eco-friendly choices, whether around the home, whether that's around gas or their vehicle and things of that nature. They have satisfaction from saving money and being financially smart, which is why a lot of younger millennial homeowners are more prone to look into solar because it makes total sense for them. So they get a lot of satisfaction from saving money and being financially smart. Their specific pain points of being a new homeowner are the high initial cost of owning a home. Guys, during that first year, 2 years of owning a home, it's just constant wake up calls because there's constantly new charges that you didn't really think about when purchasing a home because you never owned a home before. Even if you've rented a home, when something went wrong with the foundation, with the roof, with the backyard, with the fence, with the dishwasher, toilet, etc., you just called someone and they fixed it for you, right? Well, now as a newer homeowner, you're getting hit with all of these new charges that you didn't even think of, even though every realtor is going to say, hey, set aside 15 grand for this or that. That's all fine and dandy. But when that tree falls on a fence And the fence alone is 10 to 12 grand. That 15 grand budget for the whole year of miscellaneous charges as a new homeowner is pretty much ate into, right? So the home ownership costs in that first couple of years of the surprise charges is a lot for them. Let's talk about the day-to-day challenges. So again, managing expenses while setting up a new home, staying up to date with the latest technology, balancing the budget between wants and needs is a very key thing for them. All right, what are their specific goals and aspirations for them? Reducing monthly utility bills, having a high tech, eco friendly home, impressing friends and family with smart investments. Very key. So you can tap into a lot of ego with them, with the right person. Again, a lot of this is more art than science on how you deliver it, and that's how we'll get into it. But impressing friends and family with smart investments. Again, status is going to be important to them. And then a subset, so not every one of them wants to be a parent or start a family. Something different than we've seen than generations before us, right? With those boomers, they 100% wanted to have a family, wanted to have a big family. Not all of them, but a high majority of them. Whereas millennials and the generation under us is vastly different. More and more are turning away from the idea of parenthood. So we'll talk about that as well. But for them, there's a subset planning for parenthood, and they are concerned about future expenses and savings, and they want to create a sustainable and tech-friendly environment for their future children. Now, when you think about the home in general, the whole idea of buying a home and creating that type of asset. When you think of a home, you think of family, right? For most of us, a home is where family lives. A home is where family, grows up, where we make memories, where we do that whole nine. And so family and the other people who share our home, when we make decisions, oftentimes we're making it for their future and for their present. So always keep that in mind when really talking to anybody who's preparing for a family, has a family, or is preparing to leave things for their family, right? So this in a nutshell is what millennials as a customer avatar, what they value, what is their lifestyle, what is their attitude, what is their emotional triggers, their specific pain points, their day-to-day challenges, goals and aspirations, and then if they're preparing to be parents or not. So we're going to cover this for all three of the customer avatars. And again, this is the first one with millennial homeowners. Now let's go down to customer avatar number 2, which is working families. I would just really consider this being that mid sub level avatar. So we have millennials, younger. They're going to be, what age did I put here? 28 to 35. And then working class, which just consider this like middle age, right? They're not too young. They're not too old, right? They're right there in the middle. Working class, most of the time, this is going to be families. But again, they can be single. They can be divorced. They can be whatever. Most of the time, they are going to have a family. So 40 to 60. Again, I didn't pull these avatars or these ages off of Google. This is something that just from my career in home improvement sales, which is over a decade now, something that I found to be true. So let's talk about their values, lifestyles, attitudes, triggers as well. So right off the bat for avatar number 2, they value practicality, right? Financial stability and family well-being. Most of them do have children, whether they're in elementary school or sometimes maybe even high school. They do have a family. So their lifestyle, they're going to be busy with work and with family. They oftentimes work a 9 to 5, which is why for these particular emojis, I chose this guy. He's a city worker of some sort. Could be a plumber, could be a firefighter, could be a cop. Same with the mom. They could be a teacher, administrator, office type of job. I consider this middle class, middle age working families for this second avatar within solar, which honestly is the biggest avatar that we see in solar as far as customers. They make up the large part of qualified homeowners in our field. Now, the largest homeowner group right now is going to definitely be that older boomer. Most of them, I would argue, are not qualified for most solar products. Now, let's talk about their attitude. So they're focused on immediate savings, right? They have families. So every single financial decision that they make every day affects their family, right? If I am a father, a married father of a family of 5, everything that I buy affects, for the most part, especially if it's over a certain dollar amount, is going to affect my family in some way, shape, or form, right? So they're focused on immediate families, but they are cautious about big expenses. Again, back to the fact that every decision they make will affect their children, will affect their spouses, etc. Now, what are their emotional triggers? So they want relief from reducing monthly expenses, ensuring a secure financial future for their family, but the trust factor for them is huge, right? Trust in reliable, straightforward solutions is key to them. The reason why that's key to them is because, guys, they're a little bit older, so they've been around the block. They more than likely have purchased things from people who've knocked their door or cold called them before, and they either did or did not pan out. So they know what to look for. This is why when you sit down with them, they're really key on, we want somebody who's local. We want somebody who's got great reviews, and they really want to dive to the ins and the outs of the installation contract and the fine print and the loan docs and things of that nature, right? So the trust factor for them is going to be huge because more than likely they've had an experience before that didn't pan out that well, and they do not want to make that same decision. But oftentimes they also they've made purchases before, investments that have panned out before as well. So specific pain points for them right now, high utility bills, right? Those high utility bills for that guy that I just gave you that scenario who has, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids, they put a strain on that family budget, especially at a time like this in the summer, where it can hurt what they, purchase the next month as far as groceries and family outings and things of that nature. So yeah, it absolutely is a pain point for them. Need for cost-effective home improvements, right? So they want to make sure that they can do things to the home because they need to do it, but they want to make sure it's cost-effective. Concerns about a long-term expenses and financial stability, which we've basically said multiple times. Now, their day-to-day challenges, managing the household budget, balancing work and family time with financial planning, finding reliable and affordable home solutions. Specific goals and aspirations, no surprise here, but they want to lower those monthly bills to free up more family budget. The biggest thing that I want you guys to think about in this is the wording that I chose to use for these avatars, because it's a lot of the wording that I use live with them when I'm talking. The way that I talk to the millennial family that is thinking about having a family, they've been married for a couple years, they just bought a house, they don't have any kids yet. The way I talk to them about their family planning versus the way I talk to the guy who has, 3 kids in middle school is totally different versus the way that we talk to people who are retired with adult children, right? So it's a very similar conversation, but it's different. The way that you customize it is going to speak to their heart and their mind different. It's either going to hit home really strong or it won't hit home at all, right? That is why this wording, although it might sound similar, is vastly different to the listener, okay? So specific goals for them, again, investing in long-term financial savings, providing a comfortable home for the family. Subsets, obviously they're focused on providing children's needs for the future. They're interested in creating secure and financially stable environment for their kids. So obviously solar is going to be a great fit for them, but how we communicate that value proposition to them is going to make all the difference in the world. And this is avatar number 2, that working class family, middle-aged, middle class, age 40 to 60, busy with family time, really needs those immediate monthly savings to really help with that family budget. Now, customer avatar number 3, this is the pre-retiree / retired. So this is anybody planning to retire or who's already retired. Their pain points are going to be essentially the same. Let's dive in and see about their lifestyle, their values, and their specific pain points and triggers. So right off the bat, they value financial security, comfort, and reliability, right? Their lifestyle. So they're preparing to live off a fixed income, or they're already living off of a fixed income of some sort, right? So they need to maintain low cost around their home. So everything they're doing, they're making sure that it's able to maintain, because you don't want to work for 40 years, get to the end of your working life, and then have a time like this in America where everything's becoming sky high, prices and everything's going up, but your expenses, your income is staying the same. That is a terrifying place to be in, right? So they need to make sure that they're maintaining cost-effective solutions for everything that they're doing. Their attitudes, concerned about long-term financial stability, right? Obviously, we just talked about that. They're cautious about their spending. They literally can't overspend. You and I could overspend. We can always go out there and make more money, right? Make another dollar. But if you and I are at the end of our working life, if we are, 60, 70 years old, we might have a hip replacement or back injury or whatever that, is common for people at that age. You can't just necessarily go out there and knock more doors or make more calls or start another business or just get a job like that. It just doesn't work like that, right? So they have to be very, very cautious about what they do. Emotional triggers. assurance of financial security, what we just talked about. They don't, that is the biggest thing for them, the fear of the future over their finances, because they can't really make more money like that. So they need to have comfort in knowing expenses are predictable and low, and trust in reliable, long lasting solutions. Their specific pain points: high utility costs affecting that fixed income, and again, a need for low maintenance home improvement. Day-to-day challenges: managing a fixed income and ensuring all expenses are covered. You got to think, guys, they have things like medication, transportation, things in groceries and things like that, that raise in cost over the years while their income stays the same. So they have to balance that comfort and affordability. What sucks, man, what that means for them is like sometimes they'll literally have to cut back on their grocery budget and on their transportation and on things that they can do with their grandchildren and families, etc., for literally because their light bill was like double, right? When their light bill doubles, it affects their entire life on what they can eat and how much they can drive their car, all that type of stuff. These are things that you and I don't think about, but they think about every single day, right? Their specific goals and aspirations, again, similar to the others, reducing those monthly expenses to better manage a fixed income. Right? Subset: if they are grandparents, they want to focus on saving money to help their children and their grandchildren. When you get to the tail end of your working life, you really think about obviously all the things that you've done with your life, but how can I leave something better to those who I created, to their adult children and their grandchildren? So they're interested in leaving assets for their children and for their grandchildren that are better than they found it, that are of higher value than they found it. Basically, one of the very common things that I would say a lot is like, hey, let's leave this property with a higher increase than what we found it, right? If they are looking at ownership over the solar system, and that is a very, very strong point for them to be able to do that. Now, there are 4 personality types of every buyer, and we're going to break those down, right? So number 1, the analytical. I call them the fact checker. Now, in green, you'll see these are names that I came up with that as I'm talking to somebody, I will immediately go, okay, he's a fact checker. Okay, she's a chatty Cathy. Okay, he's a visualizer. Okay, he's a goal getter. And so my brain, just like you see on the screen, could then start to classify and easily put people in a bucket. Then I automatically know how to talk to them for the next hour. If you don't have this type of algorithm that your brain can go off of, that'll show you exactly how to communicate to every single person, no matter what avatar personality type they're in, you're more than likely doing something different with every single person. And if you're inconsistent in your approach, you're likely inconsistent in your results. So I'm going to help you get past that today. So the 4 buyer types, again, this is very common. This is a very Googleable thing, but the names that you come up with and how you classify them for solar is going to be different. Let's dive in. So analytical thinkers, number 1. Call them the fact checker. Number 2 is the driver, the goal getter. Number 3 is amiable. I call them the chatty Cathy or chatty Kevin. Number 4 is expressive. I call them the visualizer. So the analytical person we've all seen. This is that detailed guy, likes facts and data. This is the person that when you show up to an in-home visit, he's already got on the kitchen counter, he's got a printout Excel sheets of all his energy bills for the last like 10 years, right? This guy's ready, right? So how do you identify if somebody's a fact checker? Well, they're going to ask questions like, can you provide the exact savings per month? What are the size of the panels? What type of inverters do you use? Like, he's going to want to know all the details of every single thing. And then what type of behavior is he going to show on that call or during that consultation? If you're in person, he's going to take notes. He's going to ask for detailed reports. Sometimes we'd even prefer email with the information over the phone call. The communication style is calm, precise, and heavily focused on accuracy. So that is how you will spot a fact checker. Really, guys, I promise you within 30 seconds of talking to them, especially on a phone call, because they're going to ask some of those questions that I just mentioned. All right, so next we do have the driver. I call them the goal getter, right? So these guys are very results driven. They're decisive. They might come across competitive. They want efficiency and they want a clear return on that investment, right? So let's take a look at some of the questions that they ask so that you can know how to identify them by the questions they're asked, their behavior, and their communication style. These are the 3 things that we use to identify all these guys, right? So some of the questions will be like, how soon can I see the savings? What's the payback? What's the bottom line? They're the guys that when you show up to the call, show up to the home, they want to try to get you to cut to the chase and get you the pricing right away, right? This is how you can point that guy out. Their behavior, direct, again, to the point, makes decisions quickly, often takes control of the conversation. We've all had that homeowner who likes to interrupt you over and over and over. They can feel you doing a sales process, but they want you to cut to the chase on each topic and fast forward to what the pricing is like, right? That is how you spot that person. No need to be afraid of that person. Most people who are unprepared, when they show up to an appointment and that person is like, hey, man, I got 30 minutes. What's the bottom line here? I've got my bills. Here are my bills. What are we looking at today, right? That is how you can spot this type of person. So they're often going to take control of the conversation. Again, communication style is very assertive, goal-oriented, prefers short and direct communication. If you start saying too much, they will get agitated and tell you to wrap this thing up and get to the point, right? So that is how you spot a goal getter, dare I say. Next, we have amiable. Let me get this thing out of the way. This thing's in the way. Next, we have amiable, a chatty Cathy or a chatty Kevin even. Characteristics, they're very relationship focused. They are cooperative. They value trust and personal connections. So we're going to talk about how to identify them, their behavior, and their communication style. My thing with the chatty Cathys and chatty Kevins is they're easy to spot because they want to do the rapport for you. Like they literally, like they're asking you about you. You ask them one rapport question. They're like, yeah, man, how about you? Where are you from? Are your family from around here? They lived in the area long, or that's cool. How long? What do you like about the company? How long? You like, they literally make you feel like they're doing rapport on you, which is great. The thing about them is you can get friend zone with them. Don't be mistaken that just because they're asking you a lot of questions about you, that they're ready to buy today and they're going to buy today and they're just going to be some lay down sale. And that's not the case. They just like to feel good about the things that they're doing. And if you're in their home, especially, they want to know who's in their home. So they will ask you about stuff. They will, offer you coffee and water and all this stuff. That does not mean they're going to buy today. You can absolutely still get friend zoned by these people. They will do all the laughing and storytelling the entire time, and you'll get to the end of it all, show them that pricing, and they'll still tell you that they don't want to make a decision today. Okay. So again, how do we identify it? Well, let's take a look at the questions they ask. How many other customers do you have like this in the area, right? Who else have you guys installed in my neighborhood? I'm sure you guys know people who say that to you, right? Can you tell me about the customer service process? Who do we call if there's an issue? Their behavior. So they're asking questions about relationships. Who do you have a relationship with in the area? What's the customer service process like? Who's my relationship with the person that we need to reach out to that's going to fix any issues that we could possibly have? Their behavior, again, they're friendly, right? Like I mentioned before, they're doing the rapport work for you. They show interest in you. They show concerns with other people. They're absolutely down the face-to-face meetings. They prefer that over the phone calls and emails. Their communication style, warm and empathetic. Again, they are the ones who like to build the rapport. Next, we have expressive. The visualizer is very simple. They need to see it. They need to see it so that it makes sense for them. Any type of presentation that you have, their eyes are glued to the screen, right? They love the pretty visuals. Stuff like this will be better for them. So you guys who love, like me, Miro boards, right? It's easy because your brain gets to be able to get a visual to all of the things that someone is saying. And when you can see it, it just hit home a lot harder, right? So let's take a look at how do we identify them? What are the questions they ask, the behavior and the communication style of visualizers? Well, number one, they're enthusiastic, they're creative, outgoing. They look for excitement and big ideas, and going solar can be a big, new, exciting idea for them, right? Questions that they ask: how will they impact my home value? What if the panels change in the future? How will they look in the future, right? Those are questions that you guys have already heard before from people, I'm sure. What's their behavior? They're talkative, they're energetic, they like to share personal stories. They prefer brainstorming sessions and lively discussions. Communication style is expressive. They're animated, right? They prefer visual aids and storytelling. Just like I mentioned, they're going to be glued looking at your thing like this while you're talking the entire time because they need to see the visuals. They're very artistic and creative people who are drawn towards visual representations. So these are the four buyers. You got the fact checker, You got the goal getter. Hey, get to the bottom line. How much is this going to cost me? How long is this going to take? When do I get an ROI? Chatty Cathy, Chatty Kevin. Hey, man, where are you from? Can you tell me about how many other people in the area that you guys have serviced? What if something goes wrong? How do I, who do I call? How do I fix it? How long have you worked with the company? What do you like about the company? Then we've got the visualizer. Okay, perfect, man. What about how are the panels going to look in the future? Are they going to get any smaller? Are they going to get any larger, right? You show me pictures of some work that you guys have done. Can you show me this? Can you show me that, right? They need to see it all. They want to see everything visually, right? So our pretty proposals are perfect for them. And those are the 4 personality types within solar for every single buyer that we'll see. All right, so to effectively, let me back up a little bit. To effectively identify each personality type for customer avatars, we need to look for those specific behaviors, communication styles, and preferences during the interactions. So now I'm going to show you guys how to do it for the customer avatars. So we looked at the 3 customer avatars: younger millennial homeowners, middle class, middle-aged working families, pre-retirees, and retirees. Those are the 3 avatars within solar. And we just looked at the 4 personality types, right? 4 personality types again: fact checkers, goal getters, chatty Cathys and chatty Kevins, and visualizers. Now, how do we identify when we are with a millennial? Are you a chatty Cathy, chatty Kevin? Are you a goal getter? How do we put them in that bucket so that we can tailor that approach, right? And once you can do that, I promise it'll all make sense. And then every single person you're talking to, you go, boom, okay, pre-retiree, chatty Cathy. Or you go middle class family, goal getter. Guy's got his stuff ready, right? He's got the spreadsheets out. He's telling me he's only got an hour. He's telling me he's not buying a day. He's a goal getter, right? Once you can spot those people, you need to have a game plan that makes you confident to sit down with every single one of them. Because right now, you guys aren't confident that you can close a goal getter. You're not confident that you can close a fact checker because you don't know how to communicate with them, right? But the amiables, the chatty Cathys, you're like, oh, perfect. This person is talking a lot. They make me feel comfortable to talk. So I don't feel as nervous with them, right? Most people do really good with these, but don't do good with those because they make you uncomfortable. But cool. When we figure out how to identify with them, each one, we can game plan each one and do a much better job. Here's some general steps to identify them, right? General steps to identify personality types. Pay attention to the main points they focus on. Is he or she talking about data? Are they talking about family, efficiency? Are they talking about the future of solar, right? What's going to happen in the future? What's going to happen with panels, the inverters, the et cetera, innovation? Observe their questions. Analytical types will ask for data and specifics. Goal getters, aka drivers, they will want quick bottom line answers. Amiables, chatty Cathys, chatty Kevins, they'll want to talk about family and community, right? Expressives, visualizers, they will be enthusiastic about trends and status. Your job is to match and adopt your approach. Match your communication styles to their needs. Be detailed, concise, supportive, and enthusiastic when needed. Key word is though match. Match your communication styles. You don't want to talk to a goal getter the same way that you would talk to a visualizer or a amiable, someone who's expressive. You want to be short and to the point. Too much talking is going to basically piss them off. And the opposite, right? If you have a chatty Cathy, a chatty Kevin, and you're monotone and cold with him or her, it's going to annoy them. They're going to feel uncomfortable on that call or with you in that home, right? So you want to be able to match your approach with the right person depending on their style. So basically now we need your brain to be like a computer. And in order to be a computer, you need to create these files so that when you're on a call with someone or standing in front of with someone or sitting across their kitchen table, your brain can go, if this, then that. When I hear this or see this, I'm going to do that. And when you can do this process over and over without emotion, you can operate at a high level because now you have a framework and a process that you can repeat every single time, no matter who's sitting in front of you. And that's how you're going to become an elite closer. All right. So now we take a look at the 3 avatars. We took a look at the 4 personality types. Now let's look at the avatars with the personality types. This is going to be a little bit wordy, right? A little bit longer video. And I may or may not go through every single one, but you can download this so that you guys, and I'm going to have some homework at the end of it, so that you guys can basically recreate this for yourself. So let's take a look at millennial avatars. If they were analytical, if they were drivers, if they were expressives, amiables, or if they were expressives. So when you have that analytical millennial, they're going to ask detailed data-driven questions about efficiency, right? The cues will be request specific stats, studies, comparisons. Your approach, provide detailed technical information, case studies, data, and charts. Here's the thing. If you are booking them at the door, if you guys are cold calling to set your own leads, right? You can hear this stuff at the time of the appointment, and you already can put them in a bucket, and you know how to approach them prior to the meeting, right? So same with the drivers. When you get when you get a goal getter millennial homeowner, this is that straight to the point one, right? They're asking about the ROI and the installation timeline. Be concise, highlight the installation process, emphasize the financial returns, make it so super black and white for them, and help them set a goal. So, hey, man, if we save this money, if we save this amount from this year to this year and this time to this time, now we're able to do X, right? Help them put that whole picture together, and it'll be a much easier close. Now, Chatty Cathy's, Chatty Caffins, aka amiables, emphasize the eco-friendly benefits and share stories of community impact, right? So, hey, we've got, you remind me of my other homeowners in the area. They were just like you guys. They also had a Tesla, and they wanted to be able to pair battery backup and solar with their home as well, so they can get that total eco-friendly packages. And so if we can get more guys like you around the community, imagine what type of community will we have if we could at least get 30 to 40% solar adoption rate in this community. What would that be like? What kind of neighborhood would that be like for your future children to live in a neighborhood that was 50% renewable energy producing in these homes? What would that be like to live in that type of community, right? And then the expressive. So when we get the signs and cues from them, we want to highlight the technology, highlight the aesthetic appeal, the shiny look of solar. I think solar panels look like Ray-Bans on your roof, right? I think it looks super cool. Which, after you get solar, which one of your neighbors do you think is going to copy you? And then again, have that status boost of having solar panels to that expressive person, but talking about that curb appeal to the home and how that trendy product makes their home look a little bit better, right? So here is, again, you can download this. I won't go through all the signs and cues, but for every millennial, this is how you can spot and have an approach for the analytical millennial, the goal getter millennial, the amiable, and the expressive, right? So those are the 3 customer avatars with all 4 personality types and a approach on how to talk to each one, a highlighted approach, if you will, right? So remember, analyticals in general, focus on data, ROI, cost benefit analysis, be prepared with facts. Avoid the fluff with them. Drivers, be direct and to the point. Show your solution saves them time and money efficiently. Expressives, use stories and emotional appeal. Highlight testimonials. They want to talk about in the neighborhood. Who have you done in the neighborhood? The neighborhood. People. And use exciting opportunities. Amiables, build rapport. Listen more. Emphasize how your product or service involves relationships and community well-being. Here's our homework for this video, man. So these are the names, like I said in the beginning, these are the names that I came up with that I could easily remember in my brain that helped me, right? And so your job, your homework, if you want to have this same framework so that you can treat your brain like a supercomputer, and every time someone answers that call and every time someone opens that door, you can go boom, millennial, boom, working class. Then they talk for 10 to 30 seconds. You go goal getter, driver, right? Or amiable. They're chatty. They want to know about me, how long my company's been in business, how long I've been with the company, things of that nature. And then the second that you can put them in the bucket, you know exactly how to talk to them because you know their pain points, you know their emotional triggers, you know what's important to them. And then you can share stories. This is the biggest thing. The biggest thing is the avatar stories. Every time I'm talking to an avatar and a personality type, I don't sell them. I tell them stories of how a similar avatar did the same exact thing, and now they're in a better future destination. That's it. When they can see or read or hear a story of someone similar to them doing the thing that they're about to do, they intake that information differently. So your homework, download this PDF, write down and rename the avatars as something that you can easily remember. It's all about the brain. How can you trigger so that your brain can go, if this, then that, right? If you remember that part from earlier in the video, and then repeat that same thing with the 4 personality types. So when I named, let me scroll up a little bit. When I named my personality types, fact checker, goal getter, chatty Cathy, visualizer. That was so that I could remember it, right? Same with pre-retiree, retiree, millennial, working class. I know I call them middle class a lot, but that's just what helps my brain when I'm talking to them. They might not be middle class. Most of the time they are, but like, because the middle class is who has the biggest pain point, but that is what helps my brain. So what's going to help your brain remember these things so that you can communicate and tailor easily and tell the right stories to the right people so that it really hits home. So download this, rewrite and rename the avatars for you, rewrite and rename the personality types for you that make sense for you based on your market, who you see often, and then write down a short customer avatar story or two for each avatar plus use cases for personality types. When you're in solar long enough, you should have use cases for everybody. So there's no need to fabricate. If you yourself haven't been in solar that long, use one of your peers' stories. But at any rate, find a use case, a true use case, so that you're not lying to people, but find a use case that matches their customer avatar that hopefully is in the same market so that you can mention it. So when I'm with that pre-retiree goal getter, I'm like, hey, yeah, you remind me a lot of Mr. Jones around the corner, right? He's also not too far from here. When he was looking at it before, he was worried that it wouldn't make any sense at all for him to own a solar system because the ROI wasn't going to be there. But when he sat down and looked at the numbers, he saw that a leasing opportunity was a much better fit for him because it allowed him, without any guesswork at all, to get a very clear-cut, transparent monthly expense budget to show him that he was saving money and that he wouldn't actually be paying more over time with interest from ownership, so on and so forth, right? But you need to tell a story of the customer avatar to them at some part in the presentation for every single avatar and every single personality type, and you need to have it preloaded. Do this exercise, man, and write it down for yourself, and I promise you, it is going to be a game changer for you. And now you will feel confident with every single person that you sit down with, and you will stop being nervous. I don't know where I got this from. I was about to say nervous Nelly, probably from all these names that I'm coming up with. But you'll stop being so nervous when you sit down with fact checkers and goal getters. Goal getters like to hit us with the, man, I got a sharp stop in 30 minutes. And we're like, fuck, this shit is going to take an hour, 30 minutes. Like, I might as well come back, right? So you'll know how to handle these people, and you'll have a game plan for them now that you know what to look out for. So stop being unprepared, right? Now's the time to sharpen the blade and get really prepared so that you can feel confident with every person that you sit down with. And this is how you do it. So again, download this, write down and rename each avatar with something that you can remember, that your brain can easily remember when you get that cue from them. Then do the same thing for the personality types, and then think of, you hopefully have use cases in that market. If you don't have use cases in that market, think of similar use cases that you have from your experience in solar. It doesn't matter where they are, that you can say, oh yeah, man, you know what? That's a great question. It reminds me of Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. and Mrs. Gonzalez. They were the same way. They also were working a lot and had a busy family, and they didn't think that they had time to do this whole solar thing and that it wasn't going to make sense. But when we actually sat down and they looked at the warranties and saw how much they were protected on all sides, they really saw that not only was going solar saving them $100 per month, but because they were getting away from those huge summer bills, it was actually saving them an average $300 per month based on where the rates were this summer. So over the course of just a simple 3 to 4 months, they weren't just saving $100 per month. They were actually saving closer to $1,200 to $1,500 over the course of that 3 months, based on what they were based on what they got to avoid, based on what was the current rates and charges from their utility provider, right? At any rate, there's so many different scenarios and stories that you get to put together when you speak the right language. I hope this video was helpful. The customer avatars and personality types will make you become a professional in this game of sales and a professional of this game of solar. I hope this was helpful. This whole series that I'm going to do is all over the whiteboard. So we'll talk about settings, closing, and scaling solar. This video obviously was about closing. The next one will be about scaling. Again, let me know in the comments if this was helpful. If you guys want more whiteboard videos, I will see you guys in the next one.